how does it smell? Like, well, smell the blood of rate cuts. How does that smell? Like Friday, like last week?
It smells like buying. First of all, if Tariq is right, then I'm wrong.
Right.
Because I'm on the other side of that trade.
Right.
Because I saw what we saw last week. The Fed is cutting. All right. It's just we can debate the timing of it, but they're cutting. And you saw it in the jobs report. The slowdown is here. On top of a weak number, you had 101,000 in revisions to the downside. Even the work week was
the revisions are now 600,000. We have 600,000 fewer workers than
I think those revisions speak to what the man on the street is feeling.
Right.
I think what the man on the street is feeling is a lot different than what Wall Street is talking about.
Also, there's rate cuts are starting to happen in other central banks. You know, and in the A block, one of the guests mentioned about the court. We know these central banks try to, you know, if not complement each other, be on the same page. If the rest of the world starts cutting, starts to cut rates, does that also add a little bit of pressure on the Fed?
Maybe it does, but the bigger issue is our own U.S. Treasury. Janet Yellen has said that they're going to, pump out less debt than we thought.
At least for the next 2 quarters.
I don't buy that. Okay, they're going to be pumping a lot of debt. We're knee deep into 2 wars. We've got a massive deficit. We're going to have to increase that. We're going to need more bonds. They're going to need the help of the Federal Reserve. And Fed policy and rhetoric does help the long end of the curve. You saw that last week when rates just collapsed on the heels of that meeting.
Could it get to the point where they even have to pause the QT and even bring back QE?
It could. Yeah, it absolutely could. I don't think they would actually go out and physically buy it, but they could turn that off.
So what does it mean for the market?
I think the reversion to the trade, the reversion to the mean trade, that's likely done. But could we drift higher between now and the end of the year? Sure, it's a seasonally good time of year. Earnings are mostly done. Most of the big names have reported. We still have a couple of big ones like NVIDIA left. That's probably the key one between now and the end of the year.
Right. I mean, over 400 names have reported, to your point. The revenue, the top line has been sort of weak. I mean, earnings have been okay in terms of consensus.
You can always find a way to goose the bottom line.
You can always find, Jack Welch taught us that.
Revenue, you either have it.
Yeah, Jack Welch taught us that. You can always find a penny here or there, right? If you're a great manager. So then, how are you handling these things? I mean, I know you're for the most part always vested, but are you more aggressive in terms of your investing, or is it sort of what's the composition of the portfolio?
I don't think the composition is traded. I'm always about the names. I'm always about the story and what's going on there. And there are cheap names out there, even within technology. There's some great names. There's a name like Dell is on the tape today. Analysts are actually starting to get excited about the AI servers. Getting a company at 10 times forward earnings, 10% free cash flow yield. That's pretty attractive in a 5%
Dell
world.
never seems to get the ink or the accolades.
Look at the chart. This thing is moving.
It's a stealth winner, but you never hear about it, right? I mean, and Michael Dell's like an American hero. I mean, in terms of, guy starts a business in college, right, and it becomes one of the biggest businesses in the country.
I think it's a great name, and it's one that you can, kind of sleep at night.
I kind of like the idea of owning a stock that no one's talking about too much. TradeWinds, though. What's going on there?
TradeWeb. Very different story. Look, if you're going to be in financials, you could dig down into regional banks and try to find that company with a pristine balance sheet. There aren't many of them. Or you could look for a secular growth story like TradeWeb's. It trades like a tech stock because in many ways
high beta?
High beta, high multiple, but high margins.
All right, so just if you like the name, folks, and people listen to radio, it's TW, the symbol, it can be a little bit volatile. All right, good stuff, my man. Appreciate it.